Igna's corner, beyond Bent. Janssen! And Blackburn Rovers are 18 minutes away from a Premiership return.
As far as Stewart, just outside the penalty area, clips it central for David Dunn. David Dunn equalises! It just had to be. Dack's corner and it goes. Glance towards goal! And Rovers have taken the lead! Charlie Mulgrew has scored his 14th of the season. It may well be the goal that sends Rovers back into the Championship.
Hello Rovers fans, welcome back to our final pre-match live stream before Christmas. You know it's Christmas because Ryan has quickly run to get on his Christmas hat. I'm also joined by Tom and Alex, and we will be dissecting everything and going through all the motions that we usually go through in our pre-match live streams. Rovers are playing Stoke away today. We've had some luck at Stoke Stadium in the last couple of seasons, couple of wins there. So I'm sensing already a little bit of optimism amongst the panel. So we're going to get into it all and dissect everything before we get our team news in around about, what we're saying, 40, an hour, 25 minutes. So, okay. Are you guys pumped and ready to go?
All good, yep.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling it today. I'm feeling a win. I'm nice and excited. Alex, how are you feeling?
I don't know why. I feel like I'm strangely optimistic today. I've got no reason why, but I am. So there you go. You take it while it comes, don't you?
Strangely optimistic. Tom, how are we feeling?
Gonna say if Alex is optimistic, then all hope's lost. We're definitely going to lose. So, no,
Right,
I'm with Alex on it. I feel pretty confident today. Probably misplaced, but we'll find out, won't we?
Okay. Well, we'll let Alex respond to that dig in a moment after we have played out our advert. We are proudly sponsored, as per usual, by 6yardsout.com.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.
Okay, so what we're going to start with today is a little bit of a chat about this kind of pre-Christmas period that we've been in. We talked quite a while ago now, what feels like not so long ago, about this 12-game run that we're right at the tail end of now, and Ryan did quite a bit of work on that, and we talked about that at the end of the last game that we somehow managed to win. Which was quite a weird post-match show that we did where we were happy but also really bummed out and quite tired. So get your comments in and let us know how you feel about this 12-game run that we've been on. And in the lead up to Christmas, the final game before Christmas next week, you know, where do you see us and how do you feel about our position in the table? Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? And what do you think about today's game? Get your comments in and we will show them on screen and react to them. And some of the better comments, we might even centre an entire talking point around if they're good enough. And as per, we'll be giving out Ryan's comment of the stream award to whoever can come up with something fun and unique. So, Ryan, I'm going to come to you first because we've mentioned the hat and I've now just mentioned your comment award. So we better let you talk for a minute and give me and my mouth a rest. How are you feeling? Obviously, we've just talked about that kind of pre-Christmas reflection. So give us your thoughts on how we've been going so far.
Yeah, I think on the whole, we've been good, haven't we? It's nice that we've become such a good attacking side and a nice possession-based team as well. That's really nice to see after some really shocking years between, 15, 16, 17. Good that we've had those big results against the likes of Wickham and Derby and all of that. And we're probably where we deserve to be in terms of we've beaten those sides below us and not quite beaten those sides above us. So unsurprisingly, we are where we are in the table. But I always maintain that in this division, it's about timing your run to the right point. So if we just hang around where we are now, hopefully get a bit closer to the playoffs, if we can go on some kind of run later on in the season, March, April, May time, we could just time that to perfection and be a form side going into the playoffs. And why not with Dack and Travis coming back? So, I think we're doing okay. I think it would have been nice to have beaten the likes of a Brentford, a Norwich, or a Bournemouth. But I think we are where we deserve to be, I think.
Yeah. And in terms of, we're talking about reflection, but I suppose we're also looking forwards as well. Are you optimistic, or, how are you feeling moving forwards?
Fairly optimistic. I think we've got some depth in the squad, which we've spoken about a lot, and we're having to rely on that a lot as well with the injuries. And we are in better shape compared to a lot of teams, believe it or not. When we do speak to them week by week, our injury situation is better than some, actually, and we've got the quality to bring in. I am just so excited about, as I say, Dak and Travis coming back into the side. I think the key will be, if we get through January with most of the squad intact, there's still a little niggle in the back of my mind that someone like Armstrong might get sold, or even someone like Linehan. You never know. If we do have to balance the books to get some contracts signed, that's the only niggle. So I think I'll reserve my complete optimism until the 1st of February or whenever the window shuts. But yeah, I'm feeling okay. I think we've got the squad to make a good fist of it and get as close to the playoffs as we can, and hopefully within it, of course.
Yeah, we've got some comments coming in already, and guys, if you've not commented and you've not got involved before, definitely do. It's nice to see some familiar faces as well. We've got Dan here who very often joins us, and good day to you as well. Gary Mason says, Merry Christmas. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you too. And Dizzy Thumbs, who we all had a little bit of a laugh at with his 0-0 prediction, because we really didn't want it to be true, and it nearly was. Big game for Rovers today. I'd love the 3 points. What time is the game review stream? That'll probably be around 5:15, maybe slightly later, depending on whether there's a hectic amount of added time, but some point just after 5 o'clock. So, Alex, I'm going to come to you now. Pretty much the same talking points as Ryan there. How are you feeling about what's gone, and how are you feeling about moving forward?
I think this season is possibly the first season, realistically, I've ever thought that we had a chance of getting promotion. I think in all the previous seasons, we might have flirted with the playoffs on occasion. We might have been in the top half for periods of time, but I just never thought that our general performance level was that of a side that would have been able to sustain that level throughout the whole of the season. And I think that really has been shown, hasn't it, in previous seasons. So I think this season, what stood out to me is definitely the progress in style of play, definitely evolving from that old League One model of hoofing the ball up to Graham and knocking it down to Dak. We've completely moved away from that, probably since last Christmas, really, since Dak got injured just about a year ago, really, this weekend. And I think the team evolving from that, I think it's made a real progress, accelerated over the summer, obviously, by the recruitment, which I thought was very good. So yeah, like Ryan, the biggest thing for me is obviously January. We don't know what the budget is. It looks like there isn't much finance available to me from everything I've been hearing from, various local media sources and the like. So I think the big remit for January will be to keep hold of our best players, for one, try and extend some contracts as a second priority. And then the third priority is obviously not to get injuries in the second half of the season to key players. And if we can avoid that and we can get a bit lucky, because I think we would have to say that all teams that get promotion, you can point to maybe a bit of the season where you go, oh, that was a bit lucky. It kind of propelled you forward. So I think really we need all those three things to come together. And before I wrap up, I'll just apologise to Ryan for the short shrift I kind of gave his 8-game Foreign League table the other night. I was so angry at the way we'd played. I was just in a bit of a mood. So sorry about that, Ryan. I didn't actually realise it was the 12-game spell that you did a lot of work on earlier in the season. So I apologise for that. And
I didn't even notice. Don't worry, mate.
'Tis the season for love and understanding, Alex.
So that's my Christmas reconciliation. And if we do well over the next 4 games, then I think we'll probably come close to meeting that points target that we talked about after the last international break, and that would certainly set us up to be in the hunt for the second half of the season.
Yeah. Okay, Tom, just before I come to you, I'm just going to interrupt kind of our talking point here, just so that everybody who is watching listens and hears as well. So far, we've managed to raise £352 for the Salvation Army. We've got our big Fat Rovers quiz taking place next Wednesday. There's loads of stuff in place. We've got some really good special guests. We've got Jacob from Lancs Live and Rich from the Lancashire Telegraph, as well as Ian from BRFCS. And we hope as many of you can join us as possible. But of course, we would like you to donate if you can. And thanks to all of you that have donated, a lot of you that have donated a part of our streams. You can visit rcdonate.com to find the information. And like I said, the quiz is taking place on Wednesday, the 23rd. It'll be live on all the channels that our live streams that you're watching now are live on as well. So if you can donate, that would be awesome. And it's all in aid of the Salvation Army in Blackburn. And we've just, of course, introduced, if you hadn't seen, we're doing a bit of a raffle. So every £1 that you pledge towards the charity is a donation. We'll give you an entrance into a raffle to win a 2021 home or away shirt. So if you pledge £50, that would be 50 tickets. So, Tom, with that out of the way, how are you feeling about the season that's gone by, and are you optimistic moving forward?
Yeah, I guess I just echo what both Ryan and Alex have said, to be honest. I think we probably deserve a few more points, but then on the flip side of that, we didn't deserve anything against Rotherham, did we? So it swings and roundabouts, I guess. As well as we played against Bournemouth and lost, we were terrible against Rotherham and won. So we're probably where we deserve to be. I don't feel the table lies overall. With regards to optimism, I thought we'd get the playoffs this season. I was quite confident of that. I went on record saying it. I'm not as confident now, but I still feel we can make a real good go of it. And I think that'll be progress, because as much as we've spoke about the playoffs, probably since we got back to the Championship, we have always fallen short. It's got to around May time, or obviously it was a bit different this year, but it's got to around April time, and we have been quite a bit off the pace, and it's taken a set of freak results to even put us in the hunt at that stage. So being in the hunt then, for me, would be progress, and I'm optimistic that can be the case. Whether we get it or not, I don't know. But to echo what Ryan and Alex said, just being in the hunt would be brilliant.
Yeah, I think back to Villa, really, from that 18-19 season, when they got Grealish back, didn't they? And they went on a run, and I suppose you could hope that the same will happen with Bradley Dack. But I think we're in a position where Bradley's coming back into a side that is so different from the one that he left, not just tactically and formation, but even personnel. I think Grealish wasn't out for as long a period, and of course he came back into a side that was suited to him. So it might not be as seamless a transition, but he's definitely something that we can look forward to as a fan base and be excited about. Luke, who sometimes joins us, ITVB's loss, our gain. If you haven't checked out, we often talk about in our group chat the Olivia Meets Her Match program. I think it's now finished. Has the finale been on now? So that's
a couple episodes behind, though.
Bradley's back in ours, isn't he? Now he's out of the TV limelight. Now he's back as a fully fledged Rovers player. So yeah, Bradley Dack, yeah, he's one for me. That's the one thing that gives me optimism. In terms of how we've gone, I think it obviously hinges on today, doesn't it? Because 3 points can mean a lot, and especially away from home. And I'll just quickly ask you guys, I mean, we haven't seen the team news yet, and we haven't talked about what we'd like to see, but just isolating today's game on its own, Ryan, are you optimistic about today's fixture? I know we touched on it at the beginning, but do you think we can get a win? Can we expect to win today?
I think we can get a win, yeah. I think we are going to have a tough game today, though, and this is going to be a turn up for the books, because I'm sensing that Alex is going to end up predicting a win and I won't. I do think Stoke, I spoke last night on the other side and I was looking into Stoke this season. they don't get the credit they deserve actually going forward as a side, and they can hurt sides. And if you look at the table, they've scored more goals than the likes of Watford and Bournemouth and Swansea and Barnsley as well, who get this reputation for being attacking sides. So I think we've got to be on our game today, actually, to stop Stoke from scoring. And, you know, as the stereotype goes, going to Stoke away is always a tough game. So I think we can go there, you know, hoping for a win. And there's no reason why we can't, particularly with some of the injuries that they've got. But I do think it will just be a tough one. And actually, going back to what you said about the 12-game block and everything like that, I think this is the toughest game out of the 4 that we've got left before the FA Cup third round. And I think if you were to say to Mowbray, shake your hand on a draw today and then beat Sheffield Wednesday, he would take those 4 points. So there's just something that I'm thinking it might be a draw, just shaking hands on a draw a little bit after the end of, you know, a mammoth 9-game run where it's Saturday, Tuesday. We've got the week's break after this, haven't we?
Yeah. No, that's an interesting point. I think that is really interesting because Rovers used to be a side that drew so often, and we would sit here and talk about whether it was a draw that we had earned a point in or a draw that we'd lost 2 in. And it's just not something that comes up anymore. We don't draw very often. And, you know, I think Middlesbrough this year is probably one of the only examples of quite a boring 0-0 draw game that, you know, didn't have much going on and we didn't deserve more or less out of it. But, you know, in seasons gone by, we were the draw merchants. And even under previous management before the League One relegation, we drew a lot. Whereas this year, I feel like if we take the lead, it's game over. And more often than not, case in point, Reading, you know, when we concede the lead early on, it's usually a case that we'll lose the game. You know, Swansea, another example as well. So, yeah, interesting that actually. Do you go along with that, Alex? Do you think that we've kind of changed our style there in terms of what we get out of games, 0 or 3 instead of 1?
I would certainly agree with that. I completely agree with what you've just said. And I think the example that I'll draw is that last season we won 7 away games, the same number of away games that we won under Gary Bowyer in 13-14. But in Gary Bowyer's season, we drew 9 away games, whereas last season I think we only drew 3.
Yeah.
So we actually lost a lot more away games last season despite winning the same number. And I think what you see there is often, and I think even when you just look at Mowbray's hardcore win, draw, loss stats as a Rovers manager, he's won the most, then he's lost, then he's drawn. The figure for the number of draws is the lowest of all 3. And I think that bears out really, doesn't it? With possibly other than the League One season where it seemed like it was either a win or a draw. And so we only lost 6 games all season. That didn't really come into it, but
Alex, just for you, does that say something about Mowbray in terms of his substitutions as well? He very often, I know at the minute it's 5, but we'll go with 3 because that's a more long-term realistic figure. He very often uses all 3 and sometimes in 2 or 3 at once. Do you think he kind of goes for the jugular and it either works or it doesn't, and that's why we don't draw often?
I think you've seen that, and I think one game I'll give an example is, and I think it was the Bristol game soon after we got promoted from League One. And we took the lead 1-0, and then they scored just before half time to make it 1-1. And I think what you saw with the approach was when we went 2-1 down in that game, Mowbray going for the jugular, and we lost the game 4-1. And I think that's sort of what we've been seeing really since promotion is, and I think you saw that attitude. I did see Mowbray say that after the Brentford game was, we might as well have lost the game 3 or 4-1 than 2-1. You know, trying to get the point. In the end, we managed to salvage the point. But you do see that approach from Mowbray quite often where he seems to think that it's worth taking the gamble and risk losing 3, 4, 5-1 to take the risk of trying to salvage the point. I just think up to press in this league, I think we've still been that League One side trying to acclimatise to the division. And so I don't think we've had the level of quality to be able to maybe be that naive and that jugular late on in games. And I think we've been punished for it. I think it would be safe to say when you look at the number of losses we've had on the road, we've been punished for that approach. But I think maybe this season, you're starting to see that quality of the squad increase, that game management level increase. And as such, you're seeing less consequence of that approach in games. And I think the Brentford game really highlighted that, where I thought we managed the second half really well.
Yeah, not to interrupt the talking point that we're on, but you'll see scrolling across the bottom, Rotherham United Derby County has been postponed. A COVID-19 outbreak in the Rotherham United camp. I do not know whether that will have implications for Rovers. Obviously, we've just played Rotherham, so I would imagine that there's probably going to be some questions, as to whether that's something that's come from us or whether they, we'll have to wait and see. So that doesn't sound good, though.
I think most of our players have already had it.
Yeah, let's just hope, of course, that it doesn't affect us and that it's not a case of, well, they've been in contact with you, so your players have to isolate as well, because that would be really rubbish. I don't think that'll be the case today, but, looking to next week, hopefully that's not the case. But yeah, a little bit of breaking championship news for you there, scrolling across the bottom. We've got quite a few people joining us, quite a lot watching along, but not that many people getting involved in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts. Let us know what you think. You're welcome to disagree with some of the stuff that we say. We are just fans as well, so let us know your thoughts. Luke Kimberley's just noted here, only just realised they have Stephen Fletcher. That's gone under my radar. Him and Vokes, ... I think we'll touch on that, and Tom, I'll come to you on this. Stephen Fletcher, Vokes, is Stoke a team that you feel threatened by?
They certainly pose a threat. We saw multiple times, to be fair, when we were sort of playing a style with two big attackers, say two, we had one with Graham. But we saw the problems it can cause. And we've also seen against Stoke previously, that game where we won 3-2, Peter Crouch came on, and all of a sudden his physicality and just the fact that they had an outlet changed the entire game. Really, it was because Berahino missed a penalty, wasn't it, that we managed to pick up 3 points from that game. They certainly pose a threat, and we've seen already this season that Lenihan and Ayala perhaps aren't the strongest pairing. I think they're getting better. But it is a slight worry that they have got these players that can cause problems. And I think I see FM Works made a comment just with regards to McLean whipping balls in for Fletcher. That's a very fair point, because we've seen that, especially the left-hand side, our left-hand side, we aren't particularly strong there, are we? And if Niambi, for example, gets caught napping, as rare as it is, to be fair, it would be a slight worry. With that being said, Aya and Lenihan do seem to be getting a bit more comfortable with each other, which is only a positive.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, we'll be moving on to our kind of discussions about who we want to see today. And I think that centre-back partnership is something that, well, there's not much to choose from. Williams is out, Wharton's out. So we are going to see Lenihan and Ayala. And it's which way round you want them. And then, dealing with the damages that may cause or reaping the rewards of it. Barry Douglas has obviously struggled a little, but so has Amari Bell in recent years too. So I think defensively, that's one of the key areas. And we'll move into that now. So, Ryan, I'll come back round to you. Who do you want to see play today? Pick out a player or two for us and why.
So I've been stewing this over in my head a lot, and I saw FM Works put the comment in as well about Tyrese Dolan. It feels like it could be a game for Dolan today, with getting in behind their back line. If we've got three pacey people in, Armstrong, Dolan, and Harvey Elliott's no slouch, is he? And I've been really stewing it and weighing it up in my head, because you then lose the bit that Sam Gallagher brings in terms of that physicality going away to Stoke. And I can't make my mind up. I really can't. But what I will say is, Gallagher maybe hasn't had the impact on the side that we have seen him make from the bench. So maybe I would opt for Tyrese Dolan from the left today, just to try and go for them. And if it's not quite working and he's not getting some joy, we know we've got a great option in Sam Gallagher coming on, just to get Stoke thinking a bit differently about our attack. So I think, just talking it with you now, maybe I've just made my mind up that Tyrese Dolan is probably the one who I'd go for.
Yeah, we've had a comment here. Thoughts on potential Dan Butterworth inclusion on the bench today. So we are pretty confident that Dan Butterworth has travelled and will make some form of appearance today. And I think he's someone I'm very excited about. Alex, are you looking forward to potentially getting a glimpse of Dan Butterworth over the next few weeks?
I am really, because truth be told, I'll admit to not being an avid watcher of the academy sides, and particularly the 23s and the 18s, and so I've not really seen an awful lot of Dan Butterworth over the years. I've seen bits of him in, I think, League Cup games against Lincoln. He might have come on in that when I was at Ewood for that game. So I've seen bits and pieces, really, of Dan Butterworth, but not enough to maybe cast a full judgment on him. So, yeah, like you say, Joe, I'm really interested to see if he does get on the pitch today, particularly with the 5 substitutes. It won't surprise me if Mowbray looks to maybe give him 5 to 10 minutes at the end of the game, just to see how he copes really with the full-blooded championship game. I think he's suffered tremendously with injuries. I always kind of lumped him in with the Bradley Dack sort of long-term shocking injuries. And I'm not sure if it was a back injury or a knee injury. I remember it being an absolutely horrendous injury. I just hope that obviously he comes back at the same levels that, at least in fleeting glimpses that I saw of him for the first team whenever he was included. So yeah, I think if you want maybe a detailed analysis of him from the 23s, I'm not the man to ask on that, I'm afraid. But yeah, I do accept that he's certainly one of the more highly regarded players from that batch of 23s, included, Travis and Rankin Costello and the rest. And I don't see any reason why, if he's as good as everyone says he is, which I've got no reason to doubt, that he would be able to make that step up.
There's a question on screen here, Alex. Should TM freshen the team up today, or one final push with the strongest 11 before week break coming? What's your kind of reaction to that kind of comment? And which side of the coin are you on there?
I don't think he'll go unchanged. I think Tony Mowbray, one thing I've always learnt with Tony Mowbray is that his body language on the touchline often says more than his post-match interviews. And so I think throughout the game on Wednesday night, you could certainly see his visible frustration with the way we played. And I think probably just a bit of the lethargy in the performance. And so it wouldn't surprise me if he does freshen things up a bit.
I'm just going to interrupt you, Alex, because team news is here 15 minutes early. And I can confirm that Bradley Johnson looks to be starting at centre-back alongside Darragh Lenihan. No Ayala. So the team is as follows, and we will get it along the bottom. Kaminsky, Nyambe, Lenihan, Johnson, Douglas, Tribal, Holtby, Rothwell, Elliott, Gallagher, Armstrong. That certainly is interesting. I'm interested in that. Ryan, can I get your first reactions to that team news?
Well, the first reaction is obviously Bradley Johnson. I didn't realise Ayala was a doubt, so that's a big blow. If they've got Stephen Fletcher up front, I've not seen their side. I do have faith in Bradley Johnson being able to win headers against Stephen Fletcher. He's good in the air, Johnson. So, no doubt that he'll match up physicality-wise, but it's the pace in behind that would disturb me a little bit, particularly down that side. And if he's paired up with Douglas, who, hasn't been the best for Rovers in a Rovers shirt, we might just see a little bit of, what Watford did away, where Sarr and Pedro had a bit of joy down the side that Ayala and Bell were. If I was Stoke today, I'd be targeting that Johnson-Douglas side of our back four. So, it is what it is. Johnson, we spoke about injuries and, that's 3 centre-backs out now. We did stumble upon that Johnson might be able to do that job for us. We just got to hope he'll get stuck in and, and battle with Stephen Fletcher as much as Ayala would. But yeah, slight concern there. It's obviously not his position.
Yeah, Michael Pearson makes a comment here, Nyambe centre-back ? Which is potentially the case, maybe. The way it's been presented in the Rovers announcement kind of suggests that Johnson will play centre-back, but I suppose we are kind of playing guesswork. We might see a Tom Tribal fill in at right-back, maybe. Darragh move over to left centre-back and Ryan Nyambe slot in at right centre-back. That might be the case. And interestingly, Rovers have deleted said team news since that's been announced. So let's wait and see. We'll keep it rolling along the bottom and assume that is the team news. It came out early.
Someone's done a Liverpool
account.
Someone's done a Liverpool FC Twitter and I think jumped the gun slightly on the announcement.
I was actually going to apologise to you, Joe, as well, because when we were doing all the timings for the show today, I put team news at 2:15, didn't I? Just totally forgetting it comes out on the hour. So there's obviously been some mystic moment there.
Conspiracy.
That's weird.
I know. That is
It's
really
interesting,
weird.
though. That sounds like an error, but I would be surprised if it's not the team. They usually know the team in advance by a good hour and a half, really. So, yeah, interesting one. So it could be Johnson at centre back, or it could be Nyambe paired with Lenihan. Tom, what's your instant reaction to that team news?
Interesting, isn't it? It's probably the best way to go with it. I quite like Tribal being in there. I know I said on the post-match stream that I was a big fan of Tribal when he came on. Pretty happy with him. Good opportunity for him to really show his worth to Rovers. I don't think we've seen the best of him just yet. I guess no real complaints, though. Just interesting, obviously, with the leaked one, if it is the one. Johnson potentially being at centre half, or obviously there's the Nyambe option, which begs the question: is that Johnson at right back? Which I guess we'll see, won't we?
Yeah, very, very interesting. Stephen asked that question: will Johnson not just play in front of the centre back? Well, what centre back are we saying? Nyambe's going there, or? That's the difficult question. So I'm going to assume that is the team news and it's just come out early by accident. Somebody was that shocked at Johnson being at centre-back that, the tweet just went out a little bit earlier than normal. That's my assumption. Maybe wrong. And it might be that they released the team news and, Adam Armstrong's out for 3 years. So we will wait and see. Let us know what your instant reaction to that team news is. Leap your man. If Tribal plays right back, we miss out on link between Nyambe and Elliott, which has been a good combo. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Alex, I think really Nyambe and Elliott have been our main creative outlet in most of the games where we've struggled.
I agree with that 100%. I think right now, if I had to pick one player or maybe two players from Wednesday night that I thought went above and beyond maybe the general below par performance, certainly Ryan Nyambe and Harvey Elliott will fall into that category. I think we've said it so many times, we need to sort this contract out. I don't know how many times we need to say it. I think it's possibly one of the biggest, if not the biggest, contractual predicament that we're in with regards to who is out of contract next summer. I just think you will not find a right back of Ryan Nyambe's calibre for the money that we would need to sign him on for a long contract. So I think it would be financially foolish to allow his contract to run down and to not act on that. I think if I look at the rest of the team news that's been leaked, I would say that my biggest concern is that it seems that we've only got one fit centre half at the minute, senior centre half, and we were talking about our playoff hopes, and you do have to say that it takes a dent when you have one senior centre half fit. Not only that, but the one that is fit, Darragh Lenihan, has a history of niggly injuries and suspensions. And so it certainly throws a spanner in the works, doesn't it? And as we always know with Rovers, nothing's ever done the easy way. And it seems that that's going to continue. I'd be interested to see whether maybe it's Tom Tribal at right back and maybe Nyambe at right-sided centre-half and maybe Bradley Johnson in midfield. I don't know whether that would be an option. But
there's a tweet from Jacob who will be joining us next week. Cheeky plug for our Big Fat Rovers quiz on Wednesday the 23rd from Lancs Live. And Jacob's at the same time that Rovers tweeted that announcement, put out a tweet which read as Bradley Johnson slotting in for Ayala at centre-back. And he seemed to say that with some confidence and conviction. So I'm pretty sure he will be there. But, again, we're going to have to wait and see. It could be Nyambe, Johnson and Lenihan in a back three. We really don't know. We are just guessing. And the timing there from Ryan Lambert, as I say that, could we see a back three? We might. You never know. You really do never know. I'd love to see how that would operate and how we would do that. I think it would be interesting to see who would play where and whether that would work. But maybe now's not the time to tinker. Just play what we can and play the system that we know and use the players that we can in the defence. So that's kind of thrown a bit of a spanner in the works with what we were trying to do today, because we were about to move on to, our preferred lineups and who we want to see. So, I mean, I'll go for a really bold prediction here and say that I think Johnson might, when the team is re-released at 2:00. So we can't really do what we were expecting to do. So we're kind of blagging our way through this now. So we'll move on as if we've already done our preferred team news. And we'll talk a little bit about one of Stoke's players that won't be playing today, which is Tyrese Campbell, a quite exciting young player who'd been doing quite well for them, and unfortunately is now out for the season. And we had a comment, if I can find it here, from Callum Robinson. Stoke do not seem blessed with pace, so operating a high line with 9-bit centre-back with his recovery pace could be a decent idea. And Stoke are even less so blessed with pace now without Tyrese Campbell in the side. So what can we expect to see? In my opinion, I think without him there, I think they'll probably go more direct. And unfortunately for us, direct sides are difficult for us to beat. I think we saw Rotherham operate a very direct approach, a very League One, a very Paul Cook approach, as I worded it in our post-match stream. If Stoke do go direct to a 2 up top, kind of Vokes, Fletcher kind of thing, is that something that you worry about? And I think I will come to Ryan first on this.
I think if Johnson is centre-back, I would worry about that. As much as Johnson physically can match them, as much as he's good in the air, he's not a centre-back. So, these are championship strikers at the end of the day. So they're going to have the movement, they're going to have the guile, and, they will probably be targeting Johnson in that regard. So if that is the team and Michael O'Neill has got sight of that, I would not be surprised to see both Vokes and Fletcher today, but it's likely to just be one of them. I don't think Stoke will just employ that, though. As I said at the start of this show, and as we reflected on yesterday on the other side, Stoke are a better attacking side than we give them credit for. And they've got the likes of Tom Ince and James McLean who can hurt you down the sides. Both of those are really good on the ball and can get some good crosses in and thread some nice passes. And they've got Nick Powell, with that Wigan connection and, sticking it into Rovers and all of that. It'll just be like Nick Powell to have a worldie today and start playing a really good game. So they're dangerous. They're a dangerous side. And I think we're naive to think that it'll just be lumping the ball up to Fletcher or up to Vokes. They're a bit more than that. But to go back to your question, Joe, it does worry me, because I've got no doubt that Johnson will do his best and put in a really good performance. But at the end of the day, he's not a centre-back.
No, it's definitely going to be a really interesting game either way. We've had a comment here which I want to highlight from Autumn Penkridge. Their centre-back, Harry Suter, is about 6'5". And on that note, I think the question then becomes, with that front three, when you're up against such a physical side in Stoke, is there any merit to playing Gallagher through the middle? And then, Tom, I'll come to you first on that one.
I mean, there is, but I still wouldn't do it. If he was to play that, I would be able to see the thinking behind it, because he does offer a bit more physicality. But I will also say, for someone that is so tall, Gallagher does miss out on quite a few headers. He always seems to jump just that second too early, like he's not just quite judged the flight of the ball and ends up getting under it rather than managing to get hold of it. So I'd be apprehensive as well. Those that are usually taller tend, perhaps I'm generalising here, but they don't tend to be as good with the feet on the floor. So someone with Armstrong's pace, if you can get in behind that, is going to cause them problems. We've already spoke about the fact that they do lack natural pace, the Stoke side. So utilising that could be beneficial. And Joe, as you pointed out previously, a lot of Gallagher's goals this season, whilst they have come from central positions, they've been when he's been coming in from the wing out wide and making those movements into the box. So for as much as we complain about Mowbray often playing these players and putting square pegs in round holes type thing, Gallagher does seem to play okay in that position and have scored a couple of goals. I think 3 or 4 this season. He's got 3 this season. So yeah, I just don't think Gallagher works as the target man. Has all the attributes but doesn't mesh them together properly. I don't think he's got that in his locker.
Yeah, quite a lot of comments in agreement with that sentiment there as well, Tom. And I think I agree as well. Gallagher does jump a little bit early for me sometimes, but when somebody does that so often and so consistently, you start to wonder whether it's purposeful and whether it's something that, you know, he's been told to do, and that we're looking to win the second ball rather than the first ball. And I know that a lot of more older school managers, and that's not me calling Tony Mowbray old by any stretch of the imagination, but managers that have been around the block know that football is all about space and positions on a field, and almost like rugby, you know, sometimes goal kicks can just be kicking for field possession. And I very often watch Gallagher and think, I don't even think he went for the ball there, not purposefully. I think he actually wanted that defender to win the ball so that we could win the second one. But yeah, again, there is then the downside for Stoke, because Armstrong will be able to massively outpace a 6'5" Harry Maguire style defender like Suter. So I'm absolutely intrigued by this fixture now, especially with Johnson at centre back. I think it's going to be a really good test for us. I think us and Stoke are both in that kind of position where we could push, but we might not, but we might. So yeah, Kevin Bradshaw, don't think Galley is good for the centre. Seems to run like a three-legged donkey. I think that's harsh. I think Gallagher's like that, yeah. For me, I think that is harsh. I think he's played well. I think he runs hard for the side. And like here, good point. Gallagher is excellent with defensive headers from corners, which I think is true. I think you can see that Gallagher can head a ball. So when he doesn't, I do think that it might be purposeful, which, you know, I may be wrong on. But so we've had the actual team news in, and I can confirm that it is the team news that we've got. So luckily, we don't have to rewrite everything and re-go over everything. We are expecting Johnson to play centre-back. Callum Robinson gets a comment in, we must not concede an early set piece. I think, in general, for me, we can't concede an early goal at all. We've got to get the first goal in this game. Do you find that frustrating, Alex, that Rovers are in a position where if we get the first goal, it's almost like a win is pretty much on the cards, and if we don't, it's probably not? Alex, you muted, mate.
That's the biggest F-up of today. Sorry about that. I think it's the change of style, really, to be honest. I think last season we were great for scoring early goals. I think we were the best in the division for scoring in the first 15 minutes. And I think it was more that we were kind of hanging on to the points and the score lines that we sort of attained. I think this season, when we do take the lead, it's almost like there's a mentality of we need to get another and another and another. And I think you've seen that in the games that we've won handsomely, and we've cantered away with matches this season. I think, on the other hand, other than maybe Wednesday night, I think that's the first time this season that we've actually come from behind to win a game. And it was at the very, very last kick. And so the odds are that if we concede the first goal today, that we will not win the game, just based on the number of times and the precedents involved in that. So, yeah, I do understand why there's that frustration and that predictability. But I think it probably goes for most teams in the division. I don't think Rovers are unique in the sense that the chances of winning the game diminish when they concede the first goal. I think if you look at most teams in this division, when they concede first, that the chances of winning are much less likely. But I think obviously the challenge is to make sure that we are scoring first in most games and consequently holding on for more wins and climbing the table, really. But yeah, I accept your point. And I think the biggest thing today, I was almost about to predict a Rovers clean sheet. I said that I was going to say that we were due a clean sheet and that we'd not had a clean sheet for a long time, so I thought we would get one today. But seeing that defence has me worried slightly, and I think I might revise my prediction. Sorry.
You know, as well, we played really well at Stoke last year, and the only reason that was a tight game for me, and I'm not trying to dig on him too much, but it's Christian Walton. I mean, we it would have been a walk in a park, that Stoke fixture, if it wasn't for some absolutely dreadful goalkeeping. And with Thomas Kaminski in there, I just think, yeah, I'm not stressed. I'm really not worried. I think Kaminski can out-jump Vokes as he's going for a header and claim that ball confidently. So that's something positive, at least defensively, that we have over last year. But Johnson's going to be an interesting one. So, guys, just before we start wrapping up and we start talking about score predictions, I just want to remind you that we're currently raising money for the Salvation Army, and every donation is an entrance into a raffle to win either the home or away shirt from this season. So every £1 is an extra donation into the raffle. We've currently raised £352 so far. The quiz is taking place next Wednesday. You can donate by heading to www.rcdonate.com. Anything you can give is really helpful. We've teamed up with Lancs Live, Lancashire Telegraph, and BRFCS, and we've got special guests. We've already announced a few, such as Elliot Bennett, Matt Kilgallen, and we've also announced Grandad yesterday. We've got another announcement coming later on in our post-match stream, and it's a former Rovers player. And what we're going to do is we're going to set a little bit of a quiz before we start, see if you can guess who it is. I won't give any clues away now, but I'll go on. I'll give one little clue. It's a player that I think most people like, and I think most people will be happy to see his name. So we'll be announcing that later on, and we'll be live for that at about 5:15. Depending on added time. So we're going to move into the final section of our stream now, which is score predictions. We've seen the team news. I'm going to start with Tom and work my way around. And as we go, I will bring up your score predictions on the screen. Tom, what are you going for and why?
I think I had an idea of what I was going to go for. Then I saw the team news and it's sort of thrown it a bit off. I'll still stick with a clean sheet, I think. I just think we'll be able to deal with what Stoke offer, because I do think they'll be more direct. And as much as we struggled against Rotherham, it wasn't as if they offered much of a threat. They got lucky with a small little flick, and it wasn't even a proper flick. It was a slip from Nyambi and Ayala, I think. So I'm pretty confident of a clean sheet, and I think we will win by a 1-0.
A 1-0 to Rovers. I like the idea of a clean sheet. I really hope that does come true. Michael Pearson is going for another stressful one, a la 18-19 with Stoke 2, Rovers 3. I really hope that's not the case. I don't think my heart could cope. Jack Hamer's going for 2-1 Rovers. Let's be positive. Stephen Mason, 2-1. I don't know if that's going to mean 2-1 to Stoke or 2-1 to Rovers. I'm going to assume he means Rovers unless he says otherwise. Leap Year Man says he is nervous about the defence today. Can easily see a score draw, but I'll be positive and go 2-1 Rovers. Dan Woods does go for a score draw with 1-1, and Ryan Lambert goes for 2-0. Barry Douglas to score a set piece. That would be great for him after a difficult start. Alex, I'm going to come to you next. What do you think we'll see today?
It's nearly Christmas.
You're muted. No, I'm
not muted. I've specifically unmuted myself then. Yeah. I learnt my lesson. It's nearly Christmas. I think I predicted Rovers to win about 3 times in 23 games. So it's I'm due to predict another win. So I'll stick with my original prediction despite my reservations about the defence. So I'll go with a 1-0 Rovers win. I think, who am I going for the goal scorer? I'll go with Lewis Holtby as the goal scorer.
Yeah.
And it will be an agonising injury time exercise of hanging on for dear life.
Oh, God, that does not sound fun. We've got a 2-0 Rovers prediction there from Eugene. FM Works says 0-1 Rovers. That's another clean sheet. Kevin Bradshaw, I'm not predicting. I'm the jinx. Callum Robinson, 3-0. There's a lot of confidence here considering that lineup. Lenihan, Armour and Elliott. I think, again, Lenihan's another one. I think a goal would be good for him. I think he needs it. Another 3-0 prediction here from Tim Young. Gallagher hat-trick. Oh, my Christ. Well, I hope that does come true as well. Another player where goals will breed confidence. Byram, Stoke 1, Rovers 2. Finally, a non-clean sheet. Jack Wilson, 1-0 Rovers. Dizzy Thumbs going 2-1 to Rovers. Holtby to get a goal. Liam Scott, Johnson own goal, but 2-1 Rovers. I think that would be a shame. And Callum sly dig at Alex there. Even when predicting a win, it's a miserable one. Well,
I'll take it. Would you all take it?
Negativity. You've got to have polar opposites. It's how the world goes round. So that's the way it works. Alexander Haven goes 2-1 Rovers. Rovers 6-0. Been going with this for weeks. Can't change it now. Well, if you didn't predict 6-0, maybe it would come true. You never know. You do never know. 0-2 Rovers from Luke. Thanks for joining us. Johnson will surprise us. Armour on the score sheet. Score sheet. Confidence back after the goal versus Rotherham. Right,
Get your
Ryan, I'm
bets
going
on.
to you next to get yours in.
Before the game, I thought a draw, and I'm still sticking to a draw. I do think Stoke are decent at home, and I think Michael O'Neill's a good manager. They've had a good record since he's been appointed, so it's going to be a tough game all round. I do think Johnson will surprise us. I agree with Luke. I think Johnson will have a decent game today, and I think it'll be more of the same from Rovers away from home in terms of a good attacking performance. But I do think that, Stoke will cause us a few problems today. They're a good side at home, and they are where they are in the table for a reason. So I see no reason to change. I'm going 1-1, but I've got a smiley 1-1. See, cheese? It's a smiley 1-1, not a negative 1-1. It'll be a decent performance. And I'll be happy with a draw, particularly to set up the Sheffield Wednesday game. So, yeah, 1-1. And I'll say Armstrong, goal scorer. Hey?
So you were here to witness Ryan Hildred going for a more negative scoreline than me.
But said with a smile, unlike you.
Yeah.
I'd have been smiling when the whistle went.
Yeah, attitude is everything there, I think. I guess I've got to do my own. I didn't really think about it. I started asking you guys, and I hadn't formulated my own. I think I'm going to go 2-2 today. I can see goals. Mowbray talked about the pitch and it being quite wide, and I know they like to spread it wide, and so do we. That kind of Johnson ball to Elliott over the top diagonal. So, yeah, 2-2 for me. Standard Air says 1-2 Rovers, fluky winner. We've had a lot of that this year. Surely at some point that luck will run out. And we'll remember this comment. Gallagher hat-trick, if it happens, I'll buy you a season ticket. Well, FM Works, we will make sure we keep you to that. So we will be watching out. And if Gallagher does get a hat-trick, then I would love a season ticket. I'll have it. I don't know about you guys. For whenever we can get back. Yeah, Callum Robinson, you disappoint me, Ryan. You were the chosen one.
Oh dear, with a Christmas hat on as well. Come on.
Yeah,
I was dead. I was dead to them anyway. They're used to me just predicting losses.
Right. Well, on that note, thanks everyone for your predictions, and thanks to Ryan, Tom, and Alex for joining me today. We will be back from about 5:15, depending on the end of the game and whether there's loads and loads of added time. And hopefully, we've got a positive result to talk about before the Christmas break. If you don't usually join us for post-match, please do. And if you can't, we do wish you a very Merry Christmas, and we will see you very soon. So we'll leave you with a message from our sponsors, 6yardsout.com. before we finish the stream. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me.
See you later. Thanks, Joe.
The Rovers Chat YouTube channel is proudly sponsored by 6yardsout.com. They've got retro football from every era with mugs, phone cases and much more. They also have plenty of Rovers goods, including apparel with the famous 94-95 season and this season's kit. Check them out using the link in the description below.